Robert, tell me your favourite Jelly Baby colour.
My favorite Jelly Baby color. I like orange the most, but honestly, one of the reasons I pick them, I need them for the diabetes. And in the past, when I've picked other sweets and you're just there eating them all day, it just gets old real quick. So it's got a nice spread of flavors. That's what I like about them.
Nice. Do you not find them a bit powdery though?
Actually, really funny. One time, I went to eat some jelly babies, came back, got some powder on my fingers, and actually accidentally had some under my nose. I think one of the guys in the gym was like, "What on earth have you just done in the changing room?" So yeah, disadvantages, but
Good. Okay.
right.
Well, thank you for sharing that story. Robert Diserens, you are fighting out of the blue corner for Grapple Worlds 2 on Saturday, the 28th of March, 2026. And as well as other things, you have type 1 diabetes. Let's just briefly touch on that before we get on to your extensive super fight career.
Sure thing. What do you want to know exactly? I mean, the gist of it is it's a real pain when I'm training. Yeah, all right. It's a thing to manage. It is annoying. It does sort of really limit what I can do food-wise. And actually, in terms of super fights, it's a bit easier because there's only one match. I can just prepare for that. It's a quick match, done, bosh. Whereas, for example, tomorrow we've got Grappling Industries. It's going to be a whole day event. That's going to be way more hassle for me to manage.
Yeah.
But also, I've had it for 27 years now. Kind of experienced with dealing with it. So, actually, if people do watch this and they want advice with dealing with it and jiu-jitsu, hit me up. I'm very happy to talk about it. And the other thing I think is everyone's got something to deal with. Unfortunately, I don't have too many other worries to deal with training.
Good. Well, thank you for sharing that. Now, before we get onto the super fights, you kind of touched on the challenges of preparing and sustaining for a full day of matches, especially for the Grappling Industries events or any others, in fact. How do you manage your day with type 1 diabetes?
So it used to be a lot harder. Nowadays, we've got the continuous blood monitors. You might notice the little round patches on the back of people's arms here and there. Some people have started using them just for health reasons, but the fact that I can just keep an eye on it the whole time makes my life a lot easier. It's actually much more of a hassle related to training. Adrenaline basically pushes your sugars up. So, you got the nerves about competition. It just keeps your sugars quite high all day. The issue really is that it makes it hard for me to then fuel myself because I don't want to keep pushing my sugars up and up and up. That's the main issue I face. So how do I manage it? You keep an eye on it nice and close. You try and bring it down as much as you can, but there's also the danger of if my sugars are too high, it's not going to impact my performance too much. If my sugars go too low, my performance will tank. So it's a delicate balance.
Well, we all love a bit of balance, but it sounds like there hasn't been a great deal of balance in your super fight career because we're looking into the teens now for your super fight history. This is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I should have got a proper count for it afterwards, but I got started with the super fights fairly early on. I originally got into jiu-jitsu for MMA, so I'd actually done, proper fights and shows before I'd even done a single proper, or at least a fight or two, before I'd even done a normal jiu-jitsu competition. So even early on, I got a feel for the difference between a standard tournament, the regular kind of tournaments you'll face versus a super fight. I think the first one I was on was one of the early battle grapples. I don't know if they'll be coming back anytime soon, but I got started with that really early on. And honestly, they're just more fun. I like the style that you can fight on with the shows anyway. I have reservations about pretty much every single jiu-jitsu rule set, and at least with the shows you can just go out there and just send it and just do whatever you want and hope for the best. I like shows. They're more fun. There's a big atmosphere to it. It's just a great experience.
Yeah. Do you have a specific style of walk-on music? I'm not asking you to, give up your actual walk-on music for Grapple Worlds 2, but what's the style that you like to walk out to?
It's not consistent. I've walked out to all sorts. It kind of depends. Okay, so with the shows, there are a certain amount of nerves. There is a certain amount of preparing for the specific show and the specific opponent you're facing, and sort of how you might want to come out. And I like to use the music as kind of a tool for that. So let me think. We had Grapple Wars, the promotion in Wales. I remember coming out to Master of Puppets because I wanted to be fired up for it.
Yeah.
I think I came out at Grapple Fest to Gay Bar Bioelectric 6 just for, just to make people laugh, basically. Yep. So there's not a consistent one. Normally, I want something that's going to get me quite energized, but beyond that, it can have a big variation.
Nice. So no specific genre of music, and all for the fun and excitement of the event.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's talk about your jiu-jitsu style and the fact that you train out of Elements Jiu Jitsu, and you have a number of fellow teammates competing on Grapple Worlds too.
Sure thing. Few bits there. Who have we got? I think Alfie's got a match. Dom Dillon is fighting for the title. Emma Hitchcock, I think you've already interviewed. And then we've also got Charles, whose surname escapes me because he only recently joined. He was training at a 10th Planet gym. I think it's 10th Planet Banbury. So, of course, he's connected to Grapple Worlds already. So we've got a good crowd going up. And hopefully between us, we can get a good bit of support from the gym. We've already got a few.
Fabulous.
It's in terms of my jiu-jitsu style, as I've already mentioned, I got into jiu-jitsu in the first place for MMA focused reasons. Realized that not getting punched in the head was really good, but that still had, the MMA still had a bit of an impact on me and my style. I want a style that, it's aggressive, it's obvious. I'd like a style that's sort of obvious to a casual fan. They could look at it and know that I'm kind of winning the fight if it's that. I don't want to sort of sit back and be quite passive. That's not really what I'm about. So, in recent years, I've focused a lot on upping my submission rate, in working on my wrestling and my top game. Yeah. And I actually really like the way that a lot of jiu-jitsu is going at the moment. Craig Jones, Ryan Hall, various bigger people in the jiu-jitsu space are talking about sort of improving top game. People clearly prefer wrestlers and top players in terms of like shows. If you just look at the last CJI, for example, I like that. And I like that kind of aggressive forward pushing style.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that. Now, obviously, you won't, listeners and people watching won't have forgotten that you have a number of super fights under your belt. But what has been the most exciting performance that you've given so far?
Most exciting performance I've given. Look, despite it not being a win, it's got to be Polaris. I will actually say, I think Grapple Worlds is very much like this, my second favorite competition show I've been on. I'd love it to be number one, but the production value for Polaris is just through the roof. It's so much head and shoulders above the others that it was just an amazing experience to be part of. It felt like a proper professional organization. And, I actually really like Chris Leyendeckers, who, congrats to him. He did win. He's back on Polaris in, whenever the next Polaris is. I can't remember exactly, a month or so. I really hope he does it extremely well and makes me look a lot better for having a very competitive match against him. That was a tremendous experience to be a part of. win or lose, it's not really about that. It's about, going there and putting it all on the line.
So what made it so exciting and in terms of your performance for you and for people watching the show?
Oh, well, it's the show itself was huge. I came out and I think I gave a really good account of myself. I managed to put on that aggressive style.
Yeah.
Obviously there were things within the match itself that frustrated me. Of course, I need to dig my way out of several leg lock attempts. But I did manage to keep coming forwards. Obviously it flagged up a few things I also need to learn a bit better, but just being able to come out, not being incredibly jittery with nerves, being on, admittedly, the prelims, but still one of the biggest stages, maybe the biggest stage in jiu-jitsu, it's extremely gratifying. And, it kind of made me realize that, even if I come out and irrelevant of what my performances are like in other shows, I have that is something I've done. I know I'm good. I know I'm good. We're just got to see how good I can be.
Amazing. This is the Grapple Worlds podcast with me, Lou Temlett, coming to you from the UK. The sponsors of Grapple Worlds 2 are Zebra, Soul Taker Fightwear, Grapple App, Pure Recharge, 10th Planet Banbury, and 10th Planet Milton Keynes. Go and follow them all over on Instagram. And as always, check out the clips on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. And also go and buy your tickets for Grapple Worlds 2 over on grappleworlds.com for Saturday, the 28th of March, 2026. Today, I'm having a conversation with Robert Diserens. Robert, the artwork and the promotion for your match on Grapple Worlds 2 displays you with a cat. Talk to us about this.
The cat, we've got Ash here. Hopefully he's not going to be too upset if I pick him up because he's a bit sleepy. Here he is. He's all right. I'm going to put him back now. But, okay, the cat. It's just marketing. I like to think that people remember me, but they definitely remember the cat. I got the idea from, and this will show kind of the whole point. I got the idea from, I don't know who, but she was on Endured, and she was carrying a lamb in her photo.
Marb. It was Marb.
Was it? There we go. Right. So I can't remember her name, unfortunately, but I do remember she carried the lamb. We've got 4 cats around, so I just thought we're just going to start holding the cats. People will know who it is. Someone at Polaris, I think it was Henry Pike, I might be wrong, even referred to me as Catman, because I think he saw me on Collision, which was the first time I carried it. So clearly had an impact, clearly reminded people. So I'm going to keep rolling with it.
Fab. We all love branding and marketing because, like you're saying, it does allow people to connect something or another being with your brand and to become more recognizable. But I also feel, Robert, that you have a presence in yourself for all of these super fights. Now, you talk about your wrestling style and your kind of jiu-jitsu, but let's hear about your kind of ecological approach and your kind of overall training style.
Sure, yeah. Let me think. So I came onto the ecological. Well, it wasn't the ecological approach per se that I first came on to. It was Instagram page. I think it's School of Grappling. Really talked a lot about like the gray zone and the space between sort of passive drilling and full sparring. Through my early years of jiu-jitsu, I did quickly realize there's this big gap that we spent a lot of time doing techniques, but didn't spend a lot of time, spotting entries and working on timing, which you need an increasingly live style to do. So I kind of had my reservations with the sort of traditional style of teaching jiu-jitsu from very early on, partly because, again, I think the MMA and the striking influences. I did Muay Thai for years, and I realized, it's all very good. Well, it's all well and good making a punch look really pretty, but the main thing is the timing and seeing the opening, right?
Yeah.
So had some reservations, had some influences from Muay Thai, saw some people talking about it. And then, obviously Greg Souders really popularized it in the past few years. I know he's a bit of an abrasive character, but he does really know what he's talking about. And then the more I asked around, the more I found interesting people. My favorite person to talk about it with would be Ed Ingemels. He's very much into that space. He's very well educated on it. And trying it myself, I just found it quite fun. It's fun. It covered off. It covered off a lot of the issues and the ideas I had around training, and really sort of said, these are the things that will work, and these are the things that won't. And I hope that I don't ramble on this too much. Do cut me off, but I think one of the mistakes we can make in jiu-jitsu as a whole is only looking at jiu-jitsu for information on what works and what doesn't. We are a pretty small sport, growing, I'll grant you, but a pretty small kind of real sport and real elite sport in the grand scheme of things. There's a lot of casual practitioners, but honestly, we don't really have any proper professional competitors. Maybe Gordon Ryan, maybe Joseph Chen, but even those two make a lot more money from coaching and instructionals. Whereas I would say a true sporting professional, Jordan Burroughs, true sporting professional, he does teach, but his space of teaching is around engaging with youth and getting people into wrestling. I don't think Lionel Messi's out there doing football instructionals. We don't have a lot of professionals.
I see.
And so I think it makes sense to look outside of the sport. So you look at, you look at judo and wrestling for nutrition and advice on that front. You look at proper science. And I think one thing that's happened with eco, I actually don't like it when people just go, oh, it's work, this guy made it work, so we're going to copy it. I want people to actually engage with the science. And if they want to argue about there's evidence for it and there's evidence against it, that's a great space to be in. And we can kind of discuss that. But just saying, oh, Grandmaster whoever did it that long ago, and this is how we did it, and this is how this champion did it. You don't know if that champion did it because of that, or if that champion did it because they did that and then they also sparred a ridiculous amount. So fit with a lot of the observations I made myself. There's real scientific backing behind it. And, honestly, it's just fun and people like it. And when I've been teaching it at Elements, it's had a really positive response. I
like the fact that you speak to the, finding those opportunities, the timing element of all of the kind of martial arts really is a primary focus. So I would wholeheartedly agree. But you mentioned professionals in this sport, that there aren't that many. How do you think we can encourage more professionals in the sport of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
I mean, the basic issue is we need more money in the spectator aspect. The more people we can get into the sport, and the more we can make the sport appealing to a casual fan, the more money will come in, the more spectators there'll be, and the more true professionals we'll be able to have within the sport. Not only that, but it's going to be great for gym owners. The more people who come in, the more people who are engaged, the better gyms we can have, the more gyms we can have. And just more people in the sport will be good for everyone. I do have my own thoughts on rule sets and ideas that will make that happen, but ultimately they need kind of testing. I do plan to do that. We've got our own little mini show that we just run out of the gym called Breaking Point. I plan to do that later this year and run, I guess, what I would call a submission wrestling rule set. We're essentially going to be having, if people want to look it up, it'll essentially be folk style wrestling. That's the collegiate wrestling style in the US. We will take away the pins, add in submissions, and it will essentially be that. There'll be some changes, of course, like it still needs to be jiu-jitsu. We still need to keep the action going, and the points might need to change a little bit. But what I want is a style that does two things. I want a style that a casual fan can look at it and say, that guy's winning. Because I find the trouble at the moment is that people might look at it and say, oh, I thought the other guy was winning. Or quite frankly, I think the rule sets in jiu-jitsu are too complicated. it's not about increasing control. I could talk about this for a long time, but ultimately, look, if I go from in front of someone's guard to a side control, have I increased my level of control? Yeah, but why then, if you turtle in between, do I get no points? It's stupid. Or takedowns, for example. If you're standing and I put you on the ground, oh, I've increased my level of control. But if you sit down yourself, I haven't. It really makes no sense. So I don't know exactly what the jiu-jitsu rule set is trying to encourage in a lot of ways, and it is a big point of frustration for me. So that's what I want. I want something that casual fan can look at, and also one that people could take from jiu-jitsu, add in some striking and take it to MMA and do well. And unfortunately, a lot of the guys who come into MMA often don't do that well, at least not in the elite levels. And I think that we can create a rule set that really fits with that.
This sounds incredibly exciting, almost to the point where I feel like there could be another new BJJ podcast. But Robert, we will put that aside until you've kind of worked out and fleshed out your rule set for Breaking Point. But I just want to kind of follow on a little bit from that in how spectators can understand more of what's going on rather than kind of feel deceived that the kind of point system and the the control and the winning until there's a submission, because it's not, like you say, it's not as clear cut as many other sports that have professionals. And obviously you mentioned Messi. From a football perspective, I'm not a football fan, but from a spectator perspective, you can see the advantages and what's going on. And it'd be really interesting to see how, rule sets developing, not just in this year and for Breaking Point, but ongoing in the sport of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm intrigued now from an intellectual perspective in how we can encourage more people to engage from a spectator perspective and get them onto the mats. Ultimately, we just want more people we can fight.
Sure thing. Yeah. I mean, I think we need to decide what the jiu-jitsu rule set is trying to do. I think that you essentially want a situation where if I'm putting someone down and I'm holding them still, I am winning. That doesn't mean you can't win. Like we have, boxing and MMA, we have like counter punchers, people who move backwards, they look like they're losing and then suddenly come back. That's fine. But look, if the guard is useful for protecting yourself, then we don't need to sort of artificially encourage it with a point system. We can just say, it will be useful. If it's good for controlling distance and getting up, people will do that. If it's good for threatening submissions, people will still use it. But ultimately, if you look at MMA, if people end up on their back and they end up held still, irrelevant of whether they got a guard or not, they're probably losing. They might come back with an armbar or something, but it's not the position you want to be in. That's essentially what I think we need. I'm open for some flexibility around that, whether you need to pin your opponent so that we can still have some seated guard and things like that, because you're not really holding them still when they're seated. But that's what we want. We want a nice, simple gist of what the rules are. And so I can just sort of say to someone in 30 seconds, who's winning and how can I tell? I'm like, if the person who's putting the other one on their back and who's holding them still and putting pressure on them, he's winning. And we work from there.
That's cool. It's kind of the logical advantage. Only in the last couple of months have I, in the kind of 3.5-4 years that I've been training, just decided to play top from a conversation with my coach. But actually, it logically makes sense that that's the advantage from a positional perspective.
Yeah, I think that. I promise I'll make this one quick so we can go on to the next. I think that part of what's happened is we've had a big cultural shift in jiu-jitsu. There used to be stories about Six Dan, whatever, comes in for a seminar, teaches us some stuff, and then someone shows him something at the end with a leg lock and he punches them in the face to show them it wouldn't work. One, totally unacceptable. You can't do that. But two, it kind of highlights the cultural shift that even within the rule set, and I know the rule sets haven't changed a lot since, the whatever decade they were built in, but they were always played with the idea that, you know, we're still doing it for the street and for MMA reasons. And so people would be encouraged to play top. But what we've had is a big shift towards playing it as a sport, which I do think is a really good thing. But as a result, people are playing a lot more leg locks, playing bottom, playing these berimbolos and things. And they're all really cool innovations. I don't think you should get rid of them by any means. But the fact that we're playing it a lot more towards the sport, if we want to keep it as a real self-defense and combat sport, if the culture has changed, the rules should change along with it.
I like that. Now, reflecting back to Grapple Worlds too, Robert, what should people look out for in your style of jiu-jitsu, and how are you coming out of the blue corner on the Saturday, the 28th of March?
Coming out to fight. You know, I'm not going to sit back and play it really passive. If I have to play guard, I'll play guard. I'm going to try and be good at it, but it's not what I want to do. I want to come out and I want to put pressure on my opponent. I want to play an aggressive, I want to play a fast-paced style. And I think actually one mistake I've made over the past year is not taking enough risks. I've played it far too safe. And, you know, I'm good at getting my way out of submissions. I rarely get submitted. I rarely get leg locked. I think the last person who leg locked to me was Ross Nichols. And if I can keep it to Ross Nichols, I'll be really happy with my jiu-jitsu. So, you know, if I can get my way out of those submissions, why not take more of a risk? I think it'll actually open up some more opportunities for me. So not changing too dramatically, but I'm trying to just be more active versus my other matches.
I love that. Now, I'm wishing you all the luck for the event against your opponent, Dylan Russell. Do you know much about him, fighting out of the Jungle Academy?
Oh, I looked him up, certainly. You know, what I would say about Dylan Russell, it looks like he's a very well-balanced player. You know, I've seen him play passing, I've seen him play guard. It looks like he's primarily guard and submission focused from there. But I'm also, you know, like I said, I've seen him do multiple different styles within a few clips that I've seen. So I will admit he might be quite hard to game plan against because he's got a lot of bits going on and he may be harder to predict. But truth be told, I've got quite a lot of stuff between even now and Grapple Worlds. And as a result, I can't game plan too hard in between. You know, I've got several tournaments and super fights and things happening. I've packed the start of the year maybe a little, probably to the brink. So we'll leave it where it is at the moment. But I need to keep it balanced and prepare for all of those things simultaneously. What I will do, you know, in a couple of weeks leading up to Grapple Worlds is really hone in on it. So he'll be in the back of my mind. I'll be keeping an eye on it, but it's really that specific game planning that will happen later on.
Love it. Thank you for sharing that. And whether you've listened to any of the previous episodes, I'm hoping that a board game designer will approach Grapple Worlds to develop a Guess Who of Grapple Worlds. But I also feel like we need some blue jelly babies, Robert.
Blue jelly babies. What flavor will they be?
It has to be raspberry. Has to be raspberry.
I get behind that. Yeah, I like that.
Okay, we can work on that too. A new confectionery brand and a new board game.
Lovely.
What more can Grapple Worlds offer?
Not more than it's already doing. I mean, I will say it is a fantastic show. And out of any, like, I would really strongly recommend if you want to come and see me compete at one, that's probably the one to come to. Considering just, you know, very well produced, really exciting matches every time. I think it'll be a great one.
I think Gavin will bring the fire and the enthusiasm together with the rest of the team, Nathan and Ed from 10th Planet, Banbury and Milton Keynes. Robert, how can people follow your journey if they are not already?
So keep an eye on Bobby Four Fingers on Instagram. I think it's also Bobby Four Fingers on TikTok. I don't use it as much. I felt like I had to make it, and you know, but a lot of content goes up there as well. And I've also got a YouTube channel as well. I can't remember if it's under Bobby Four Fingers or just Robert Diserens, but it's one of them. There's a lot of similar content going up on each, but I'm probably going to be putting up some more longer form jiu-jitsu nerdier content on the YouTube channel, just because obviously it's the platform for it.
That's what the algorithm wants on YouTube. Robert, Bobby Four Fingers, please just explain before we wrap up this episode.
Bobby Four Fingers is a stupid joke from Jordan Smith at Elements Martial Arts. Obviously, the guillotine, so I really started playing a lot more to submission work after NOGI Euros, 2 years ago now. The submissions I really played towards were guillotines. So it started being the four-finger guillotine, and from there it was Bobby Four Fingers. It was also Bobby Finger Hands. I actually think I preferred that one, but it didn't take off. So yeah, the four-finger guillotine, my special technique, special nickname. Thank you, Jordan.
Good. Right, all the links will be in the show notes. Please go and follow all the sponsors. And Bobby Four Fingers, Robert Diserens, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me on.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. Tell your friends about the show, even drop it a rating and a review. Thanks again for listening. Catch you on the next episode of the Grapple Worlds podcast.